Alrighty, this is a public service announcement for both liberals who fear guns and some anarcho-capitalists and some anarcho-leftists. Now, I would like to say this. 3D printed guns are absolute shit. I will say that. Why? Well, if we're going off of what people think 3D printed guns are, be it 3D printing the whole fucking thing, that's a myth. You can 3D print the lower receiver of an AR-15. You could do that. And you can get some very mixed results in the manufacturing of it due to the shrinkage of the plastic that can occur. Barnacles, or Nerdgasm, did a great video on the 3D printing of a lower to an AR-15. Now, let's discuss the Liberator. The Liberator, as is an awful design. And it's meant to be that way. So you can, basically, the original Liberator that was created in World War II was meant so you can get a better gun by shooting a sentry or whatever and taking his gun. For that purpose, it's fine. But, to be honest, you're not gonna go up against a huge power with fucking Liberators. Now, what's a better alternative? Well, I'll tell you. The Ghost Gunner. The Ghost Gunner is a device that was made by DefCAD, and it can CNC mill AR-15 lowers that are from 80%, I believe, 80% lowers. Also, it can CNC 80% 1911s, and a whole bunch of things. Now, if you really want to be a fucking pro at making your own guns and whatever, just go on the internet. There's blueprints everywhere. Hell, you can find Sten Mark II blueprints, AK-47 blueprints. Jesus Christ, it just takes about $1,000 worth of equipment to manufacture those damn things. And less if you have a good deal and you go to your local Harbor Freight, Home Depot, or whatever. If you don't tell them what it's being used for, they probably won't give a shit. Now, do I advocate making these automatic weapons? In a legal sense, I have to say, don't do it. But if you want to be a fucking whatever, eat your heart out. I don't give a shit. Legally required to say don't do it, but if you do it, I'm not responsible for what you do. Now, let's go on to the idea of 3D printed ammunition. That is a terrible fucking idea. Now, there are several different types of polymer casings on the market, which are not bad. But if you were to make the bullet 3D printed, right, and you were to make it plastic, I am sorry, that's gonna melt in the damn barrel. That's gonna melt, warp it, and probably disintegrate, because the bullet is traveling at a high speed. If it leaves the barrel, it will probably be disintegrated by then. The only way you could possibly make these 3D printed guns, like as liberals and some futurists describe, is to put all your research into polymers, and coming up with a polymer that can withstand at least 800 degrees. But that leads into a problem: sustained rate of fire. Now, if you shoot one round, it could probably withstand that with average materials now. But when you shoot one or two or even more, it's just gonna create more problems. It's gonna warp the barrel, and it's gonna do a hell of a lot fucking malfunctions is the problem. You have more potential for malfunctions with a plastic barrel, plastic bullet, and a whole bunch of shit. Plus, plastic isn't even a great material to make guns out of. You can make guns lighter with polymers, but you cannot make every fucking thing plastic. Imagine having a firing pin that's plastic. You're gonna have to fucking replace that thing all the time. Because plastic is easy to freaking dent. My opinion about this is just, DefCAD, okay. If you're able to CNC things, and do that type of stuff, then it would be worth making your own quote-unquote 3D printed guns. If you just want to do the stocks and you want to do a lower for an AR or whatever, but if you're really thinking about making firearms and shit that you are planning on using on a regular basis, go with CNC. Just go with the CNC option. Steel is a lot more reliable than polymers. A lot more reliable, and you don't have the risk of having the gun blow up in your fucking face as much as you do with 3D printed materials. And I'll tell you why that's more dangerous, 3D printed materials blowing up in your face. One, plastic. Plastic is a huge fucking problem. If you fucking get hit by plastic, right? Shrapnel, that's plastic. It is very hard to fucking detect that in the human body. It's very, very difficult. I believe I watched a House episode about this, and House is not the definite go-all for things, and I wouldn't trust them as a medical source always. But yeah, a kid basically was screwing around with pipe bombs and shit, and blew himself up with the PVC, and it went into his body, causing an infection, and it couldn't be detected. It could be detected via an MRI, I believe, but I'm not sure. I think they tried that. But yeah, a lot of things that could happen regards to your health. Think about this. Metal goes in your body. Okay, you can detect that. Plastic, it's gonna take a lot of effort just to get that shit out of your body. That's why landmines are made with plastic sometimes. Plastic casings and plastic explosive inside them. Because in situations where you have a enemy, right, who can detect standard landmines, if you have it plastic or wooden, that option's not there to detect it. So yeah, applying the same principle, you do not want to 3D print all the parts to a gun. That is absolutely retarded. So yes, there are a lot of issues with 3D printed guns and the obstacles that would have to be overcome to make them practical. DefCAD, I do think they did do a good thing by releasing 3D files and stuff like that. It was really a good First Amendment protest, along with a Second Amendment protest on that one. And 3D printing will make gun control obsolete. But let's think about this. Gun control was already obsolete. How? CNC machines. CNC machines have existed for decades. That's how guns are actually made, via a CNC machine. And it has better results, better quality, and you get the benefit of not having plastic blow up in your face. Win-win, right? So yeah, gun control was obsolete from when the CNC machine was invented. It just took for it to be cheap enough for the consumer to actually afford and buy, like the average hobbyist. And eventually these CNC machines will go down in price where an average Joe Schmo can afford them. Hell, you can get a CNC machine at Harbor Freight, Home Depot, or any of those places for a very cheap price. I believe $500 to $1,000. Or you can get one very much cheaper if you just want to knock around one. It just takes about $2,000 worth of equipment to actually get started making your own firearms. And that technically is legal under personal use, as long as it's semi-automatic and all that shit. But hell, I know you ANCAPs and anarchists don't really like to follow the law. So yeah, legally I would advise against it, but hell, in an apocalyptic situation, who's gonna give a shit? Anyways, this has been your friendly executioner here, and remember, use a CNC machine, don't be a retard.